Let's talk about something that might be a little controversial. Some people love to do it. Some people do it as often as possible. Some people don't want to do it at all. And for a lot of people, it can be uncomfortable. That's the hot topic. You like my hat? Got this last year on Utopia of the Seas. Can you tell what ship it came from? I probably didn't even have to say that because you can read. It's a little goofy, but it's a cool tchotchke. Little reminder of being on the ship. We got two different color hats the one day we were on board the inaugural sailing. One was this, and the pink one you can see back there, right there. So let's hang this back up. By the way, I'm in the middle of trying to add some background in here because we've got a lot of stuff. A lot. I mean, you can see some of it over here. Here, this is. Can you guess the skyline? Put it in the comments. That was a great night. It didn't end as like we thought it would, but it was a great night. Anyway, we've got a lot of stuff. We've got some pictures and things we're going to put up here. I was going to put a television up here. It'll be like a background display, hence the marks on the wall, but I'm going to cover those up. But I've got some more stuff to go up here and over here. So here and here, but not so much here. Mad props to Tommy Boy. So this topic that I'm alluding to is cruise tipping. It seems to be all over people's content recently. Some people tout the overall benefits of it. Some people don't want to do it. Some people feel uncomfortable with the way that it's given to us as a responsibility. My take on it is probably very metered by how I can see the pros and cons. So I'm not exactly on the fence. I'm leaning towards one side, but I want to know what you think. So tell me what you think about tipping. Put it in the comments down below. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. That's important. It helps the channel, helps us keep bringing you more stuff. Please do that. And share this. Share it with somebody. So anyway, cruise tipping. So most cruise lines operate the same way, so I'm just going to generalize the whole thing in that they'll give you an opportunity to pre-gratuitize the people on the cruise that you're going to go on. The cabin attendant, the bartenders, the wait staff, I don't know if the people that are in the shows get this money or not, and I'll get back to that in a minute, but they give you the opportunity to prepay those gratuities before you get on the ship, and they market it to you with a discount per day. It's only a couple of bucks, but they discount it per day for every person that's in that room. If you decide not to do that and you just get on the ship without prepaying your gratuities, it will be automatically added at a higher rate for every day that you're on that ship. You don't get the opportunity to say no prior to cruising. So maybe you're somebody who just likes to hand people their money. You like to know that the money that you are giving somebody, they're actually receiving. So that's the way you operate. Well, the cruise line doesn't give you the opportunity to do that. It's there or it's not. The only way to make it not is you have to get on the cruise, and sometimes they won't let you do this until the last day of the cruise, and go down to customer service and wait in a line to go up to the customer service person and say, I would like to remove gratuities. Now, as nice as they can, they want to know why, they want to know if there was an incident, and then they may allude to the fact that, without actually saying so out loud, but imply that this impacts the pay of the people that are on the ship, to do everything they can to talk you out of it until you finally say, no gratuities. I tip in my own way. This to me is a little bit forceful, and it makes people uncomfortable because people will probably tip anyway. I'll tip anyway. But to force me to go through all this to prove my point, I don't think is fair to the cruiser. I should be able to decide before I cruise what I want to do. I'm not going to forget. I worked for tips as a younger person, and I appreciated tips. I never expected them, but when I got them, I appreciated them. I'm not going to forget the tip. I know what that's like. And I don't undertip either unless somebody did something very, very bad. The least that I have ever tipped is 15%, but I usually tip in the 20 to 25% range for the amount of money spent or what I'm doing. I think that's fair, but I want to be given the opportunity to do that. Do you? What do you think? Do you want to be given that opportunity, or are you okay with just having the gratuities are already included? So let's talk about transparency. Really, there is no transparency with the way that cruise lines distribute their tips to the people that work on that ship. They'll say out loud that it is equally distributed to all the people that are involved with that cruise. Does that mean everybody from your cabin attendant to the wait staff in the restaurants you go to the performers? How about the person that mops up a spill, or does the dishes, or does the linens, or works in the engine room, or is responsible for safety protocols? Do they get tips too? Maybe some of them do, but I don't know where it goes. And although I'm appreciative of all these people, if I don't know where it's going, then I might as well just be holding my money out over the rail and letting it go into the ocean. I'm not going to do that because they can fine you for that. But I want to know where it goes. I would feel better about it. Now, there's only one cruise that I've been on where I didn't pre-gratuitize. And it's only because I forgot. They took them out per day anyway, and we did not remove them. But every other cruise that I've gone on, I've pre-purchased the gratuities so that I don't have to worry about it. And this is something that the cruise line hopes that you feel. Do this ahead of time. Don't worry about it. We got it. We'll take care of this tipping for you. You don't have to think about it. Well, I fall into that category because I find comfort in that. And yet, at the end of my cruise, the cabin attendant, and all of our cabin attendants have been great. Some of them we don't see very often, but some of them we do. But they've all been great. And they leave an envelope at the end of the cruise that says tip, tip, hooray. That is implying for you to put more money in that envelope to give them per day, which we've also done. But are they getting that plus a part of the gratuities that we already gave? Are they getting double tipped? I don't know. There's no transparency. How do we know? Where's it go? And if I give them that money, do they get to keep that money, or do they have to put it in a pool with a bunch of other people that we never see to share with them? Again, it comes back to transparency. We don't know. Maybe if we knew it, this would be a lot easier. How about going to a bar or the restaurants, and there's the amount that you spent, even if you prepay or you buy a dining package or something, or the drinks package, there's the amount that you spent, and then there's a line, it says gratuities included most of the time, but even if it doesn't say that, you know if it is because of the package that you got. And then it'll say additional tip. Anything you write on that line is over and above the tipping that you've already done automatically. So do the bartenders get to keep that money? I saw another video online where the bartender kind of leaned in and secretly whispered to the person that was about to give the tip. You don't have to do that. You don't have to write that on the receipt because we don't see any of that anyway. That's concerning. Why? Where's it go? So if you leave the money, I would think that person gets that money. Or if there's a tip jar, or if there's a tip jar on the counter or on the bar, or at the end of your meal or something like that in a common area, I would assume that they take that money and split that up, just like any other restaurant on land. So I'd be more comfortable with that. So I can't remember, maybe once, ever writing an additional tip on a receipt for something, and only because I thought they got all that money. But I won't anymore. I will just hand them cash so that I know that they have it. And make sure that I give feedback after the cruise to tell the cruise line what a good job so-and-so did. And if you name them by name, I know that they benefit from that. But I want them to benefit from the tip that I gave them too. So I want to know that they got it. So let me know what you think about that practice. Do you write additional amounts on the line on your receipts at the bar, or do you hand them cash? And why? Tell me which one is better. Maybe we should compare this to land-based vacations. Like if you book an all-inclusive resort, that's all-inclusive. And you get its drinks, its food, It's basic amenities in the place where you're staying and tips. Most of the time, the wait staff will tell you no if you try to tip them because it's already included. So that's very different than on a cruise ship. It's pretty clear that it's all included. There's none of the gray area, additional tip lines and things like that. Or how about on land in a retail establishment? It can be, let's just say it's a restaurant or a bar. That line on the bottom of that receipt that goes to tip, in most cases, I haven't heard anything different. And like I said, I used to work at a job where tips were important, but not expected. If somebody wrote a tip on a credit card receipt at the end of the night when I was being cashed out, that amount of that tip would be handed back to me as cash. So it would be taken from the pool and handed back to me as cash, which I thought was fair. And I'm taxed on that money. Now, money that the people would hand me, which was hardly ever in cash for the kind of job that I had, but at least I knew that I was getting the money that people intended for me. So I think that's good. It doesn't happen that way on a ship. Maybe we should talk about tipping culture and how some businesses have taken advantage of that by setting things up in such a way that it makes you feel like it's your responsibility to make sure that that employee is earning a good living. Is that the responsibility of the patron, or is it the responsibility of the employer? Employers can argue their side and say, well, if this kind of tipping culture didn't exist, we wouldn't be able to afford to keep the doors open. Something's got to give. Because if I feel uncomfortable going to an institution because I'm pressured into giving a tip to make that person have a livable wage, I'm sympathetic to that. I am. But if I feel uncomfortable about going there, I'm probably not going to go. And not because I'd want that person to make less, but if I'm going there, it's usually as a celebratory thing, because say it's a restaurant. I'm going there with my family. We're celebrating something. We want to have a good time. I'm going to tip anyway, but if I feel pressure about it upon walking in, I'm not going to go. How about the POS terminals, which doesn't mean it's point of sale for anybody who hasn't worked retail. The terminals that the wait staff will either be holding in their hand, which is the size of a smartphone now, or it could be a smartphone, or it's a terminal that is on the table and they just spin it around for you. Restaurants now have this remote POS that they sit on the table, and you can actually order and everything there and apply your tip or whatever. And then there's the ones that are based at the counter where you go up and you pay for your stuff, where nobody waited on you, you just showed up and you paid for it and you left. What I strongly dislike about these terminals is it's faceless and expected. There's a point in that checkout process on a lot of these machines where you have to acknowledge the tip screen, and you have to pick 50%, 20%, 25%, other amount, or zero. You're forced to choose one of these before you can even go to the next screen to see the amount. That's not fair to the consumer. And it's pressure. It's pressure into tipping for something that you would rather see, be able to make the decision for before you actually complete that transaction. And in cases of a retail establishment where you did all the work, you shopped the store, you got what you wanted, you ended up at the checkout, and then they spin that POS around screen, and that same kind of choice is taken away from you there too. The very first screen you get to is a tipping screen. Starts at 15%, 20%, 25%, other, or zero. So you have to stand there and stare that person in the face and hit zero if you don't want to tip, because it's not kind of a tipping thing. It wasn't a tipping thing. You did the work. You got your own stuff. They push the buttons on the register. Granted, they're paid for that. But why am I tipping more for you doing that? Besides, if I do choose to tip because you were nice, I'm going to hand you cash. And that's something that you get to keep. It's tangible. I don't have to worry about whether or not the employer is keeping your tip money. Oh man, I was watching a documentary on one of these restaurants that was on Restaurant Impossible. Is that the one with Gordon Ramsay? And the employees said that they don't get the tips that people leave. The restaurant keeps it. Now, not only is that illegal, but that's immoral. And I don't want that. I'd rather know that I handed the employee the tip money and they could pocket it, rather than the restaurant have the opportunity, good or bad, to remove it from that. Now, most restaurateurs are not like that. You follow the rules, you're good to your employees, that's great. But because you have that little pang in the back of your mind to go, are they giving it to them? Well, there's no doubt if you hand them the money, then it's in their hand. So that's the way that works. I just, it's obvious by now I have my own feelings about all this stuff, but I'm not going to tip. I always tip. It'd be a rare occasion that I wouldn't tip somebody, and it would have to be a terrible situation that was the employee's fault. So let's just come up with this scenario. Say a cruise line or place of business, to actually make up for what we are supplementing in the employee's income, they just charged the appropriate amount for the cruise. Now, from a marketing standpoint, cruise lines don't want to do this because it makes it harder to show a bargain when they're advertising deals to be had. Because if you can advertise the lowest possible price, then your cruise looks like you're getting more bang for your buck. But after you add that in on the back end, they're not going to show you. Well, actually, recently in the United States, all cruise lines started showing transparency in adding in taxes and port fees, because I believe it was Carnival started doing it first because California made them, and then all the rest of the cruise lines just jumped on the bandwagon. So now they all include port fees and taxes when they show you the cost of your cruise. I think that's great. Show me what it is. Show me upfront what it is. I think that they should charge the appropriate amount to cover this part of the tips that they say is supplementing this cruise attendant's income. Add that in there too. Just make it fair. And let the consumer decide whether we still think it's a good deal. Now, let me just say, overall, cruising is still the best bang you're going to get for your buck on spending money on any kind of vacation. It's not exactly all-inclusive, but you're going on a floating city with restaurants, and a lot of them are free, and places to go and countries to see, and swimming pools and onboard water parks and activities, and it's just great. I'm not going to stop doing it because of a little controversy about tips. I love cruising. I just think that it can be better. So that's why I contribute. So what do you think overall? Do you think you should get the choice to tip before you have to unchoose that while you're already on the ship? Or you say, c'est la vie, just let it go. That is what it is, and we'll deal with it because we're going to keep cruising. What do you think? Put a comment down below. And if you like this content and find it valuable, give me a thumbs up. Share this video with somebody. Ask them the same question. Give them this video. Share it with them and ask them what they think. I want to know. Cindy and I both want to know, because we talk about this kind of stuff at length when we're just having chair time at the end of the day. And we talk about what could we do to make it better? What's the solution? We want to know. Give us some pointers. Thanks for hanging in there. Hope it didn't put you off. Cindy and I have a lot of other great content that we're going to share. We're going to do some one-on-one here in front of the camera. We're going to talk about some of the other topics about what makes cruising great and what we really liked, and want to know what you think about it. So make sure that you tune back in. We post regular videos. We want to hear what you have to say, and we appreciate you watching. You're the reason we do this. It's awesome. Well, we cruise because it's awesome. But you're the reason why we do the video. We love it. We love you. Thank you very much. There's lots of more good content. I've got a lot of other great content